noticed that. Anytime she was losing a fight, out of nowhere, she'd just be like, well, that's why you're just gonna grow old and be alone. Then I'd lose my shit. The next thing you know, I'm in the kitchen washing dishes for the 9th fucking time in a row. This is what the argument was about. I was so right. What happened?
You ever sit back and think, man, my marriage is like a never-ending UFC fight where I keep getting body slammed by my spouse's logic? Yeah, me too. After roughly 11 years of wedded bliss, figuring out how to keep the peace without crawling into a hole, Bill Burr finally cracked the code on saving a marriage. And spoiler alert, it involves more yes dears than you'd ever believe and fewer knuckle drags across the couch. Picture this. You've just survived another spectacular domestic meltdown, dishes flying, insults ricocheting, your dignity in tatters, and you realize, holy crap, I want to stay married, not go viral on GoneWildDivorces.com. Bill's playbook isn't about therapy bills or fancy date nights that leave you $400 in the hole. It's raw, unfiltered, and centers on two things men do best: ignoring nastiness and occasionally pretending to care about farmers markets. These 10 strategies are his lifeline back to sanity, backed by decades of dirtbag comedy and tough love. So buckle up, stash your ego under the couch cushion, and let's dive into how to save your marriage with less crying and more high fives. Which of these strategies are you ready to try tonight? Arguing with your spouse is like playing chess with someone who already read the manual and can see every move before you make it. Bill Burr admits he spent 2 decades losing every battle because he'd wander off topic the second his ego flared up. His first strategy, when she's right, stop flailing and lock in on her exact point. No detours, no side quests about who forgot to replace the toilet paper roll, no desperate pleas that it wasn't a big deal. If she's laid out a valid grievance, whether it's you leaving your socks on the floor or forgetting her mom's birthday, own it. Apologize like your dignity depends on it. Spoiler, it does. Then move on. This is more than just swallowing pride. It's about communicating respect.
This is how they argue, as far as I can tell. All right? If they're right, they argue the point. And they stay on point and make sure you stay on point until you're down on your knees, apologizing, begging for forgiveness.
When you stay focused, you signal that her feelings matter and the fight loses its gasoline. Instead of fanning the flames with a rambunctious, but why are we even discussing the laundry angle? You hit her with, you're right, I screwed up, let me fix it. That simple pivot can transform a nuclear meltdown into a quick commercial break. Imagine those 2 words, I'm sorry, as a reset button that reboots both of your tempers. She gets the validation she needs, you avoid a family-wide Cold War, and you potentially knock off another 20 minutes from the wrath meter. In practice, this means active listening. Lean in, nod, don't roll your eyes, and repeat her point back to her. You feel disrespected when I leave my shoes by the door? Absolutely. I never want you to feel unappreciated. Bingo! You've just defused the bomb. And hey, if you nail this one, you might just earn the world's softest, sweetest thank you, which sounds way better than the usual I told you so. When your spouse realizes she's lost you on the main issue, she'll sometimes launch an all-out rogue attack. Bill Burr describes this as the dreaded Hail Mary personal jab. Suddenly, your childhood, your career, or your dubious relationship with your dad gets hauled onto the front lines. It's classic misdirection. She can't win with the laundry list, so she pulls out the big guns about your childhood trauma or your sensitive issues.
But here's the thing, if they're wrong, they go rogue. They go off-road. They start thinking of shit you're sensitive about, maybe you don't get along with your dad, and in their head, they just start concocting this evil statement. Totally designed, this desperate Hail Mary attempt to make you so fucking mad, you just call him a That's what it is.
Don't fall for it. Recognize these unguided missiles for what they are, emotional desperation, and refuse to engage. Imagine her spouting something like, maybe you're afraid to open up because your father never hugged you. That's a one-way ticket to the pity train, but it has zero to do with why you left your socks in the hallway. Bill's advice, treat it like background noise. Bob and weave, let her unload, then calmly steer the conversation back. I hear you, but right now, we're talking about where to put the shoes. By refusing to let these curveballs derail you, you're essentially refusing to play her side game. The beauty of this tactic is the power it gives you. Once she realizes these personal sneak attacks aren't getting a rise out of you, they lose their charm. Without an audience, the theatrics fizzle out. President Truman said, "If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen." In your case, just don't stand there. Step right out of the line of fire. Let her exhaust her arsenal, then bring the focus back on the issue that actually matters. It's like being the referee who yells, "Time out!" Only your only penalty is more marital harmony. Here's where Bill Burr's boxing analogies really shine. After you spot the rogue attack, the next step is to bob and weave. Don't stoop to the insult level.
So if you learn anything from my ignorance tonight, just know this. Next time you're in a battle with your beautiful woman, your wife, girlfriend, whatever, and they start out of nowhere, okay? You're winning and they just start saying that crazy shit out of nowhere. Just know in that moment you've won the fight, okay?
Think of your spouse's harshest words as unwanted punches. You don't grab the fist, you slip it. When she calls you a useless jerk or threatens to pack your bags and ship you off, you don't respond in kind. You stay quiet, or better yet, you offer a light, disarming comment that deflates her aggression. Maybe something like, "Dang, you're on fire tonight. I should invest in fireproof gloves." This tactic requires practice. You're basically playing mental dodgeball, and every insult you refuse to catch is a point for team peace.
All right, don't get mad. Bob and weave, slip all of that shit. Maybe because you got a little, just let that slide. Stay in the pocket of the argument. Okay? It's over.
It shifts the dynamic. Instead of trading blows, you're calmly outmaneuvering her. She hurls a zinger, you nod or offer a brief, "Yep, I'm hearing you," and then pivot back to the core issue. No punches land, no grudges accumulate. It's exhausting for her, explaining her own anger to an unflappable opponent, and eventually the fight peters out. Bob and weave also buys you time to collect your thoughts. Rather than reacting with a hot comeback that prolongs the brawl, you remain stoic. A little silence can be more powerful than any verbal jab. Picture Rocky Balboa standing in the ring, letting Creed's best punch slide off before delivering a counter. That's you, but with the added benefit of no bruises and a significantly better chance of making it to dessert without sleeping on the couch. Once you've successfully bobbed and weaved, Bill Burr's next play is to literally take a knee and run out the clock. When your spouse realizes you're untouchable to insults, they'll swing until their arms fall off. That's your cue to hit pause, drop to one knee, figuratively, not literally unless you're filming a viral TikTok, and let her punch herself out.
The argument is over, you've won. Just take a knee and run out the clock, all right? Yes, lean on the ropes. Let them punch themselves out.
Eventually, she'll slow down, exhale, and search for a way to restart. Only you're already in control. Taking a knee is more than patience, it's strategic retreat. Burr suggests you calmly offer, "Maybe we can revisit this later," and watch the magic happen. You're the cool-headed gladiator who didn't take the bait, and now your spouse has to reckon with her own exhaustion. This cooling off period prevents impulsive escalation. No broken dishes, no regrettable legal threats, no midnight texts to your ex. You buy time to process and keep respect intact. If the silence stretches into days, that's okay. Burr's radical advice: treat yourself to a little solo celebration. The champagne of victory, as he calls it. Maybe not actual champagne, unless you're fancy, but a metaphorical one. A walk in the park, a hot shower, or even indulging in your guilty pleasure TV show. But the real power move is the later invitation. By deferring the fight, you force a proper, rational conversation at a calmer moment. And hey, if you handle taking a knee well, you might just score a genuine apology and a chance to tango over pizza rather than daggers. Let's be honest, marriage is a minefield of tiny battles that add up to a war of attrition. That's why Bill Burr insists on raising your own glass, metaphorically or otherwise, to celebrate surviving the barrage. He calls it the champagne of victory, but it doesn't have to be some expensive bubbly. Think of it as a moment of self-care, a 20-minute break in the garage, a double espresso, or even blasting your favorite guilty pleasure podcast at full volume while washing the car.
And then in the end, you throw their psychology right back at them. Well, maybe we should discuss it later when you calm down. And they won't hook up with you for a couple of days. Who cares? Who cares? You rub one out. Rub one out like a man. It's the champagne of victory. Oh, so I've learned. I finally learned to, keep my cool in my relationship.
This ritual serves two purposes. First, it acknowledges that you endured a verbal cage match without losing your cool. Positive reinforcement, people. It's not just for dogs. Second, it resets your brain by injecting a little pleasure into the aftermath, so you're not left stewing in bitterness. Imagine finishing a marathon and then eating a slice of pizza at the finish line. That's this. You confronted the chaos, dodged the punches, and now you get to savor your triumph, even if the victory is just not getting kicked out of the house. In a marriage, emotional resilience is like a muscle. You strengthen it each time you celebrate a small win. Burr says men often neglect this step, plowing straight into the next fight or sulking in silence. Don't be that guy. Instead, build up that victory muscle by regularly acknowledging your own good behavior. Over time, it becomes second nature to give yourself props, which spills over into a calmer, happier home life. And trust me, your spouse will notice the lighter vibe almost as much as the flowers you forgot to buy. Nobody wants to think about mortality when they're scrubbing burnt cheese off the oven. But Bill Burr got the wake-up call of a lifetime at a friend's funeral. Standing in front of an open casket where his buddy was basically propped up like he was watching SportsCenter, Burr realized how fragile existence is.
Basically what happened was a friend of mine, right? I'm of that age, It's starting to happen. I'm 56, right? Which, granted, this is too young to die of natural causes, but it's not too young to drop dead, right? As a man, I am in my drop dead years, which are basically ages 49 to about 61.
In a split second, a petty fight about who left the bathroom sink dripping seemed monumentally stupid. If your spouse is still breathing beside you, you're winning at life. This brutal reminder serves as strategy number 6, perspective. When trivial arguments escalate, pause and remember that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Burr quips that men often drop in hilariously awkward circumstances.
I'll give you a scenario. Let's say, I'm upstairs in the bathroom, my wife's downstairs making me breakfast, right? It's a fantasy, Let's pretend women still cook for their men. She's postmating something, and she's heating it up in the microwave. That's my love language, right? And I'm upstairs in the bathroom, and all of a sudden she just hears a big thud on the floor. And it's just like, honey? Honey, was that you? This isn't funny. Honey? Right? And next thing you know, you're at my funeral.
Trimming pubes, bending over to pick up something, yet we act as if we've got a lifetime supply of sorries.
It happens just like that, and somebody's trying to put a positive spin on it. We doing what he loved. Trimming his pubes in the upstairs bathroom while listening to AC/DC.
That casket moment jolted him into treating every argument like a potential last call. Choose your battles wisely and don't waste time on inconsequential crap. Putting fights into this existential context is like dialing down the volume on your ego. Instead of shouting, "You're wrong," you step back and think, is this going to matter when I'm 6 feet under? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. So you breathe, you shrug, and you move on. It's a mindset shift from I have to win this to I have to live happily with this person while I'm here. And that, folks, is the kind of combat avoidance that keeps you both alive and together. If the funeral wake-up call is the alarm, the open casket view is the grand reality check. Bill Burr describes staring at his friend's lifeless visage, credit card debt, and marital drama conspicuously absent and thinking, what am I doing? That mental inventory is strategy 7, a full-blown stock take on your priorities. Everyone's busy plotting the next verbal jab, but Burr realized the real battle is preserving the love you share while you still have time.
I lose another friend. My buddy dies. I show up to the funeral. Open casket. It's last year, 2023, open casket. We're still doing that?
Perform your own marital audit. List out all the little grievances, who didn't unload the dishwasher, who left the toilet seat up, and weigh them against the years of shared jokes, inside references, and cozy Sunday mornings. If the trash can triangle versus rectangle debate feels trivial next to the memory of that midnight laugh when you both burned the pizza, maybe it's time to fold.
I've never understood open casket. I don't get it. It's like, you told me he was dead. I believed you.
Burr recommends visualizing your spouse in that casket scenario, not as a dig, but as stark evidence that you get one shot at this partnership. This reflection isn't about guilt tripping, it's about gratitude. When you truly appreciate the person beside you, the energy you waste on attacking each other just vanishes. Burr's patented twist is appreciating the absurdity. Here's my buddy, debt-ridden and propped up in a suit, and all I can think is how quick life goes by.
Dude, they left it open. They had my buddy propped up like he was watching Sports Center for like 90 minutes. And sitting there looking at the side of my friend's head. Like, why do I need that on the memory bank, you know? So anyway, it's a funeral, so what happens? You start thinking about your life, you know? You take stock in it. I start thinking about how fast my life's going by, how quick my kids are growing up, and then I had this thought I've never had before. I started thinking about how fast my marriage was going by.
Take a moment, perhaps not in a funeral home, and ask yourself if bickering over socks is worth the time. Chances are your relationship's highlight reel is way more compelling than your highlight reel of insults. After surviving his friend's funeral, Burr decided on an experiment. Become easygoing Bill. Strategy 8 is deceptively simple. Just say sure to more of her requests.
So I'm sitting back there, I'm looking at his head, and I think to myself, so at that moment I was like, you know what? I think in the back nine, I'm just gonna try to be a little more agreeable. You know, just try to go with the flow. Now, I didn't think this was a big adjustment to my relationship. Turned out to be huge.
A new restaurant recommendation? Sure. Weekend winery trip? Absolutely. Even if your gut screams, but I've got a podcast to record and a couch with my name on it, suck it up and roll with it.
I didn't realize I was that fucking disagreeable. Evidently I was. Because I quickly noticed my wife talks to me in a regular voice, you know. She doesn't like what I say. She'll give me shit back. She breaks my balls or whatever. But I noticed, though, whenever she was going to ask me to do something with her that she thought maybe I didn't want to do, all of a sudden she would take on like this eggshelly kind of voice, you know? She'd be talking normally. You going out tonight? You can do some stand-up? All right, cool. Then all of a sudden she'd just be like, yeah, hey, listen. There's always some sort of inanimate object that she was playing with. Yeah, hey,
His wife's tone immediately changed. No more eggshell voice, no more diffusing bombs. Just real, normal conversation. This tactic works because we often default to defensive, why are we doing this mode.
Wanted to talk to you about something, you know? Really like timid, like she was trying to figure out which wire to snip so the bomb wouldn't go off. Like, yeah, hey,
Burr notes that when his old self balked at each invitation, his wife braced for impact. The new self...
Listen, a friend of mine said there's a new restaurant that opened up right around the corner, and it's supposed to be really good, and I don't know, I was thinking maybe we could go out one night, you know, have a date night, see if it's actually as good as they say. Now, the old me would have been like, oh yeah, great, fantastic. I'm only on the road 41 weeks out of the year. God forbid I spend one fucking night on my own goddamn couch. I mean, Jesus Christ, why don't you just take me to LAX, stick me on a fucking plane and get me back out there? Am I even a person to you? Or am I just a fucking ATM machine? Is that what it is? Right? That was the old me. Yeah, no, that was the old me, but not new easygoing Bill. No siree. I just went like, all right, cool, sounds like fun. And she was like, really?
she beams. That glow-up moment when she pecks him on the cheek is like a credit line for future goodwill. By shifting from, ugh, seriously, to, that sounds awesome, you prime the relationship for more positive interactions.
And I was like, yeah! And I swear to God, she went, yay! And then she came over and she gave me the sweetest little peck on my cheek. Yeah, I felt that jolt of love you feel in the beginning of the relationship. Took me by surprise and she walked out of the room. I was like, wow, what was that? I want more of that in my relationship.
It's Pavlovian affection. She's nice to you because you're nice to her. Don't confuse this with becoming a pushover. You're not signing away your man card, you're demonstrating teamwork. Pick your sures wisely. Maybe start small with a farmer's market run or a documentary you hate. As you build momentum, you'll score little nudges of warmth that remind you why you're in this together. And hey, if she wants you to sample kale chips while you'd rather chug a beer, swapping your beer for kale might just be the secret handshake that keeps this marriage from hitting the canvas. Bill Burr admits he'd rather wrestle a honey badger than spend Saturday afternoon shopping for bridesmaid dresses. Yet Strategy 9 demands you dive headfirst into her plans. Fully suited for passive partnership, when she outlines a multi-day wedding extravaganza or an outfit rotation more complex than NASA's launch sequence, you don't grumble.
Something I've been meaning to talk to you about. We're going to that wedding up in Paso Robles, in a couple weeks, we're supposed to just kind of go right up and come right back down. Well, I was just kind of thinking, we both love wine country, and what if we just didn't come right back? What if we went up and maybe stayed an extra couple of days, Take something that was going to cost $900, make it cost $4,000. I just thought maybe we could do something like that, get reconnected. And I just go, yeah, sure, sounds great. And she was just like, wow, you are being such a good sport lately.
You Google suit colors, try on tuxedos, and toss her a sincere, that looks phenomenal. Your enthusiasm is the secret sauce.
And she's just kind of like, okay, cool, because I was also thinking, it's not just the wedding, there's like all these events around it. Like there's the night before, the drinks, you meet people, then the morning there's a brunch, then there's the wedding itself, and then the day after there's like a little pool party thing. And I was thinking, I don't know, maybe we could go shopping and buy different outfits for each one of those events. So look at me. Obviously, I don't like to shop. I'm just not into this shit. But I went along with it. And I got to tell you though, she was right. Right? I go up to Paso Robles. I hate picking out outfits. All of my outfits were laid out like I was some 8-year-old kid, And I'm just sitting there like, this is my breakfast outfit. I'm going downstairs. I'm going to have waffles and some bacon, maybe even some pancakes. Now I have on my sport coat. Ooh, I'm a big boy. I'm going to talk about the environment and have some drinky poos, right?
This is about showing up, physically and emotionally. Burr shares how going along with a wedding weekend in wine country turned into one of the best trips he's had in years. He looked good in the photos, connected with his wife over shared experiences, and even, enjoyed not having to pick up his phone every 5 minutes.
And dude, we got along great. We looked great in the pictures. We ended up hooking up. We had a fantastic fucking time. And I've just been doing that.
Takeaway? Partnering on our ideas creates shared memories that outweigh any personal inconvenience. In practice, adopt a yes and mentality, borrowed from improv comedy. Don't just nod, build on her suggestions. Yes, and we should rent that cottage with the hot tub. Yes, and I'll surprise you with breakfast in bed. This collaborative approach transforms you from reluctant sidekick to MVP teammate. And if you do feel your soul slipping away during a vineyard tour, remind yourself, one weekend of mild suffering is a small price for a lifetime of less drama. Plus, you'll earn bonus points on the next Netflix and chill night. Finally, Bill Burr distills the entire playbook into Strategy 10, a monthly enthusiasm challenge. Once every 30 days, agree wholeheartedly to something you'd never normally do and do it with gusto.
And I've never gotten along with her better. That's basically what it is. All you have to do to make them happy is just once a month agree to some shit that you would never fucking do. That they want to do, and they'll just be like happy as hell.
Whether it's a pottery class, a hip-hop yoga session, or taste-testing vegan meats, dive in like your Tinder profile depends on it. The key isn't the activity, it's the genuine willingness to step outside your comfort zone for her happiness.
Basically, what you guys are looking at here is a broken man. After 20 years, she finally got the saddle on my back. She's petting my neck. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Which way do you want me to pull the wagon?
This ritual injects novelty into the relationship, breaking the monotony of Netflix marathons and drive-through dinners. Burr jokes that his wife lights up when he says, "Sure, let's go to that medieval festival and pet goats." That sparkle in her eye is currency, and you need to cash it regularly. By committing to one memorable adventure each month, you create a reserve of positive experiences that outvalue any petty disagreement about whose turn it was to feed the dog.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do. Agree to whatever dumb shit, and you can't just agree. You gotta be enthusiastic about it, you know? Like farmer's market? Oh boy, would I! Oh my goodness, is corn in season? Well shit, I'll hold the bag! I'll tape the game, don't worry about it.
Implementing this strategy is easy. Grab a calendar, pick a date, and pencil in enthusiasm challenge. Then brainstorm 3 ideas. One outdoorsy, one cultural, one downright silly. Let her pick and show up ready to rock. Afterward, debrief over coffee. What did you love? What made you cringe? And which memory will you cherish? This conversation reinforces your bond and keeps you both looking forward. Before you know it, your marriage feels less like a grind and more like a series of mini vacations. Proof that a little monthly excitement is the marriage glue you never knew you needed. All right, folks, there you have it. Bill Burr's no BS blueprint for keeping your marriage from turning into a reality TV train wreck. We started by swallowing pride and staying on point when she's right, then moved through dodging rogue attacks, celebrating small victories, and even imagining open caskets. Talk about mood lighting. We learned that life's too short for sock squabbles, that yes dear is a superpower, and that monthly enthusiasm is the secret handshake to wedded bliss. If you've ever wondered how to sneak out of a fight unscathed or turn a chore-fueled brawl into a bored sigh, these 10 strategies are your cheat codes. And hey, if Burr's insight doesn't get you a peck on the cheek tonight, at least you'll save on therapy. Now go forth. Practice that bob and weave, raise your metaphorical champagne, and surprise your better half by actually enjoying that farmer's market or wine country weekend. Your reward? A happier marriage, fewer couch surfing nights, and the smug satisfaction of knowing you're the coolest partner in the ring. Ready to test one of these moves tonight? Pick your favorite strategy, give it a shot, and report back, because nothing says I love you like mastering the art of marital self-preservation.